Season's greetings, YouTube. Season's greetings, everyone. And please welcome back one of my regular guests, Ben.
Howdy, everybody. Straight in from San Francisco.
And yet, we've just finished watching a rather British thing. We've seen The Boy in the Dress, a BBC One Boxing Day special, which I'm going to say, it is every feel-good underdog movie. It's even a sports-oriented feel-good underdog film. There is a way in which you kind of think, I've seen this before. But at the same time, it's a very unusual subject. It's something that wouldn't have been a BBC One Boxing Day special 20 years ago or even 10 years ago. As a cross-dressing teenager, kind of wish that this had existed back then. Because I don't know if the writer is aiming for people who are ignorant, children who might become bigoted, or if his aim is to make cross-dressers feel more confident. I actually find it really enjoyable to watch, and I've seen it a few times now, and I punch the air. I think feel-good, heartwarming, sports-oriented films about cross-dressing teenagers for the win. So, Ben, what did you think?
This film would not be... Well, if it was American, I just feel like they would get everything wrong. Like, it'd be Rocky Horror Picture Show for kids. It just... so many things. No, this is actually interesting to me because I actually cared about the main character. It was written really well. Really, really well. And for an hour piece, this is good. In America, we always get these, like, really Hallmark movies or a lot of, not BBC, but we usually get a lot of Showtime or these cable channels where they make holiday movies similar to this, but it's usually rarely well written. It's also really meant for women. And it's not feel good at all. So this is actually surprisingly good. And I honestly have never seen anything like it. Seriously. Never in my entire life.
It is, I would say, it's the kind of thing that you really do only get on the BBC. It's one of the reasons why we should still have a BBC. We should still have, the license fee is being justified, I think, with things like this. And I think you're right. I think the central characters were very well written and pretty well acted considering they're kids. I don't think that they're the best child actors in the world, but they're pretty good.
No.
You like them?
Oh, definitely. I was going to just say, like, it's kind of interesting how they build up the roles for the American viewers who haven't seen this thing yet. I recommend there's a service called HOLA.org. It's actually a free site. It's a .org site. And you too can watch iPlayer just as much as the UK people can. And maybe you can enjoy this.
Wow.
But for the people who's never seen BBC iPlayer or watching, you could probably see it eventually in America's BBC America.
The trouble, of course, is it's available for 28 days as of the time of recording. And then these kinds of films, they're TV films, if they're not uploaded to somewhere like YouTube, they kind of disappear because they don't tend to release them on DVD and stuff like that. This may never reach America officially, at least, which I think is a shame. It's actually, not just is it something a bit different, it's my favourite special of the season. Even Doctor Who and Miranda I didn't enjoy as much as... Doctor Who was cleverer. Miranda was kind of funny, kind of sad. And that's a big sitcom over here to explain.
Oh, okay.
Check out Miranda if you can. Miranda Hart is, I think, the biggest British comedian right now. She sold out the O2. Her live show is amazing. I've never seen a stand-up comedian with like, seriously, you filled the O2 and it just kind of works the way that she did. She's a national treasure. But anyway, I still say this is my this is and I've watched a lot of kids movies and family movies this season. Some of which are really... Romeo and Juliet is funny and very engaging, very gripping. It's Romeo and Juliet with garden gnomes who come to life, but the basic story is Romeo and Juliet.
Right.
I thought it was going to be... I thought it was going to be crap. It's fucking awesome. Have you seen it?
Romeo and Juliet actually came to the States about 2 years ago, actually.
I happened not to see it until it was on TV this Christmas, but then as I said, I thought it was going to be rubbish. But no, it's really good. The Borrowers, I didn't.
Sorry, I'm just dealing with the process.
Carry on.
You wanted to talk about something. All right. The Boy with the Dress really feels like. Have you ever heard of the film Rudy? American film?
No, I don't know
it. It's a football. Oh, so basically, it takes the same premise, but it's a American football film. Where a young boy, kind of same circumstance, he's bullied as a kid, no one really respects him, but yet he has this outlet, which is American football. And through American football, he's respected, his peers come together, and, he's considered, the triumph. This is kind of a Rudy formula, if you think about it for American viewers. If you haven't seen the film, check it out. It's a good film, but this is better written, weirdly enough, because you have to take all different elements of the tropes and make it work with a new kind of setting and make an excuse for, this young person to wear a dress, to have those feelings. Why does he care? Also, since this podcast might go out and you never see the film, the main protagonist is not just the boy, but also his two different best friends. You have the male best friend, who's a little bit different. He has the little turban, or not a turban, what's it called?
Sikhs do wear turbans.
Oh, okay.
They are,
is it a turban? Because in America we don't call them turbans. It's like a thing. I don't know what to call them. Like African Americans wear them too. But it's a thing. It's a black thing.
Okay.
Black headdress thing. But and then the female secondary character, which is more of the opening of like, hey, if you really like this, let's try this. And it's very structured. I had no idea, because from my own experiences of British schools, I had no idea that it was like you were inspected every day. It's like sounds like 1950s America. Oh my God! And they based on how much you have to do. Like, I know there's schools like this in the United States. I've seen them in New York, but it's beyond me that you're forced to do that. In a system where if you're expelled, you're done. That's it. There's no place to go. Like, when I was in school, like in America, like, if you couldn't deal with the school system, you would either leave the town and just join another one. There wasn't a big deal. Maybe you lose a few friends, but it's only like a year gap, and it's fine. In the UK, is it based on district? Like, how does that work?
Well, we have what we call catchment areas, if that's what you're asking, that we you apply for your child to go to a particular school in a particular area. You have, I think proximity is what... My mum's a teacher, so I should know this. But there... a lot of it is just... but people sometimes move to get the school they want. People sometimes fake a religion to get the school they want. Bearing in mind in the UK, we have state-funded faith schools. So the faith schools have an advantage. They get more money than other state schools. So you have all kinds of factors where you might claim to be Catholic to get your kid into the school that gets more money, to hire the best teachers and the best equipment. As for, I don't recall being they were strict. We weren't inspected on our way in like they are in the film. I don't know what kind of school what kind of school Dennis goes to. It's definitely home counties England, so it's very close culturally to me. I live in a sort of London suburb that's likely in the home counties. This is a middle-class home counties kind of place. I would say they were very strict. Like, you can't... your shoes had to be black to go with the uniform, and they couldn't be trainers. So even black trainers wouldn't be allowed. Sorry, trainers are what you call...
Oh.
What do you call trainers?
Slacks.
Are they called slacks? Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
Mm-hmm.
I was thinking of a different term, but okay. So okay.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, there are all sorts of. You could break the rules a little bit if you stuck to the color scheme. Because I went to a school that was, I suppose, it was the best school in the area, but the area itself is mixed. And one of the arguments for having a uniform is that it stops those from economically lower backgrounds being bullied. Because if you think about being a teenager, you haven't got the latest Nike trainers, you haven't got the latest this, that, or the other. I never really cared about fashion, so you get bullied if your clothes aren't in line, and so part of it, you're kind of Kenny from South Park. You're the poor kid. But if everyone wears a uniform, but the thing there is though that the parents have to pay for the uniform. In fact, my school, we had to have a rugby top. I never played rugby at school. I've still got a rugby top for an 11-year-old that's never been worn. So, are there any 11-year-olds listening who need a rugby shirt? I'm just, I've still got one.
I mean, going back to the film, sorry to sidetrack. I just wanted to.
Sorry, can I before you do that? Can I just say my point was we actually had though, because although it was a posh school, it also had a very socialist mentality where you could pay £1 not to wear your uniform for a day and wear your own clothes. Yeah, but that money went to charity. But the thing about that is, it's great money's going to charity, and it's great that you are taxing privilege, because you're taxing the richer kids for the privilege of not having to wear a uniform. It also, go back to what I said before, identifies the poor kids.
Well...
But, yeah.
Okay, I've roughly... It's just, I'm still adjusting to, like, how fucking strict their school was. Yeah, I mean, middle school we did have the aircraft manufacturing thing, but back to the film. It's kind of interesting how his dad is super depressed about finding out he's wearing a skirt, only to find out that he's really good at soccer, ergo it's fine.
That's an interesting thing, because initially I thought, oh god, not only is this a very trope-filled, cliched,
right,
heartwarming story, it's a heartwarming sports thing, but think about it. If you're the boy who wants to wear a dress, people don't equate that with being good at a sport. They think that those things kind of... So that's one of the ways in which cliches are actually... challenge. Yeah.
No, and it's very interesting how, kind of in a 1985 way, all the kids decide, okay, we're going to wear dresses too because you can't all expel us. That's interesting.
Yeah.
It reminds me of almost like a one of those films like Pretty in Pink, or one of those like mid-80s American films where it's like, yeah, you got to take us down, but we're going down with you. And I still feel like the laughing scene really felt like mid-80s too, Americana, where it's like the whole your worst nightmare of everyone laughing at you all at the same time, plus the fucking principal comes out, plus you're expelled, plus your dad yells at you. It's the true, like, you should have just had fucking rain clouds above his head. Like, it was, you have no idea. Because I was told in a screenwriting school, that's the way you write a film, and they literally went by the book, and it's amazing how they did it. Yeah, and I almost imagine like a giant rain cloud above his head, but at the same time, with all these cliches, it's still an interesting story because it doesn't take itself very seriously, and where you think it's going to go, it changes. Another film that makes it equally as good as this one is Ted. Have you heard about this one?
Ted. No, you keep naming films like...
The giant teddy bear.
Oh! No, I don't know it, sorry.
Okay, but the reason I said it like that is both films take tropes and then they throw it on its head.
Yeah, I do like how in this one, bearing in mind Spot the Star, because they've got Jennifer Saunders as the French teacher, They've got Lord Percy from Blackadder plays the headmaster or principal, as you would say. Yes. Oh, did you recognise Lord Percy from Blackadder?
I referenced him a bit. The one I tripped on the most was the referee at the end, which was from
David Walliams.
Yes, from
Right.
What's his name?
Little Britain.
Yes, Little Britain with Tom Baker in it. Yeah.
Right. You would be. I'm going to shock you.
Yeah.
This film was based on a book. David Walliams from Little Britain wrote the children's book this film was based on.
Really?
Yeah.
Huh, what do you know?
And he's in it.
Wow.
Well, I also want to point out Tim Machinery or something like that from Blackadder. Lord Percy from Blackadder. You may remember he's in Doctor Who. He's the bad guy on the Ood Sphere.
Oh, right. Yeah. The weird guy.
Yeah. The bad guy who turns into an Ood at the end, having been a douche to... Yeah, that's Tim, I can't say the surname. But look, let's just call him Percy from Blackadder.
Yeah.
Jay from the In-Betweeners is the...
horrible.
Is the coach of the good guys football team. Let's be honest here, because it's that type of movie.
Football, or as students would call it,
soccer.
Yeah.
That where they take the piss is excellent, because you are so aware of the tropes. You're so aware of the cliches, and then the speech ends with something, but you made it to a cup, and that'll look good on my CV. Scratch. Taking the prep speech that's in every feel-good, heartwarming underdog sports movie, and they completely take the piss out of it. I thought, okay, I'll forgive you for your tropes and cliches, because you are mocking tropes and cliches. I did think the biggest trope was the black best friend, because you kind of.
It was a girl though, and she was kind of a diva, and it was a little bit off. Like, if it was really a trope, it would have been the gay best friend that taught him about fashion. If it was American, it would be the gay best friend that'd be like, "Oh my God, man, you should really get into this new session of Abercrombie and Finch or something."
I can see your point there. Yeah.
Yeah, like if this is an American movie, the guy's interest of wearing the dress would have come from the gay guy, and the gay guy would root him on, whatever, or a gay girl, whatever.
Yeah, I can see your point. They sidestepped the obvious trope-wise, I guess, in that respect. And so I'm also going to throw another nerdy moment. Dennis's dad. Dennis's dad is a Slovene.
Yes, he is.
Yeah.
Oh God, yes.
Yes, of course. The thing about watching British stuff is you can always identify actors from something else. So they've all been in the same things. Wait.
No. Wasn't a group of the kids from his actual class, the French class, also in that episode recently from the 12th Doctor where they're at the Coleman School?
I don't think any of those actors.
Really?
They might be the same child actors.
Because I remember, there's a group of them that look identical. Like for the background actors, I mean.
It's possible. The child actor who stands, because you mean in the Forest of the Night, don't you?
No. I'm talking about recently where.
Oh, in the Forest of the Night. Yes, in the Forest of the Night. That's the one where the London, the entire world is
not the forest one, but the one before that, where they're trying to set up the force field or whatever, and like.
Oh, hang on, the caretaker.
Yeah.
I don't know the caretaker as well.
Yeah.
In the Forest of the Night, the kid who stands out, of course, is the voice of Peppa Pig. I don't know if you know Peppa Pig.
I've heard of her. She's on PBS. Yes.
Yeah, the voice of Peppa Pig is the ginger child in the Forest of the Night. I couldn't tell you about because I didn't like the caretaker very much, so I've watched it once or twice, and I couldn't really tell you about the kids. So there's not much in the classroom in that episode, is there?
Yeah, could have been shot in the same locale for all I know. It's the UK.
I think you're basically watching British school children in uniforms and in things made in the same year. So I think you're seeing similarities. I'm
also seeing some similarities between this and Misfits as well.
Oh, really?
Yeah. The school dynamic, the way that everyone interacts with each other, the whole hierarchy of everything. Especially when they're in detention.
Oh, okay. Well, I can kind of understand. I can understand what you mean because, Misfits was a lot more working class, but you get the kind of some regional variations in how people speak, and there's sort of. But yeah, I think there are perhaps similar. Not wishing to be patronising, similar British isms in these, but I think they're inevitable from a BBC show. Well, Misfits is Channel 4. I actually stopped. Yeah. I gave up on Misfits around the 4th season.
No, Misfits season 5 is just not the same without good old what's his face, the guy who just would never die. That guy.
Oh, the Irish.
Good old Nathan. Nathan.
Nathan was killed off earlier than that.
Really?
Wasn't he killed off in
season 2? He left. He went off to France or some shit. He went with went off to France.
Well, I might have to rewatch it.
Anyway.
I can tell you the actor is coincidentally in the Borrowers movie that I was about to slag off earlier. The Borrowers. No, there have been 2 attempts at movies, and they're both shit. But he's in the latest Borrowers movie.
Okay.
Sorry to call it shit, but I grew up on the books, and there was a TV series that was good. And it's like, how can you take some of the best children's books and make nonsense? Sometimes they're okay. 5 Children and It was all right, mainly because Eddie Izzard did the voice of the Samiad. That's the Sand. Is it Sand Angel? The Indian in the Cupboard, which ought to be called the Native American in the Cupboard, so apologies. Great books. The film was like, I barely even noticed I'd seen it. But anyway, so yeah, the Nathan actor's knocking around. Yeah, he was funny. Bless me. But I had to say, actually, to be honest, Misfits, I came back to it more recently, because I've gone back to it a couple of times in my life. I think that's a really annoying and stupid show.
Agree to disagree, okay?
Okay, I mean, I can see how you found Nathan funny as a character. There's something in season 4 that I found really transphobic. But I don't want to go into a political thing.
Okay.
I'm just going to say some of Misfits is offensive. But anyway.
Yeah, fine. Agree to disagree. But back to this film. It does a good job. The reason we were sidetracking, it does a very good job at its narrative storytelling. It's a very good, solid beginning, solid middle, and solid end. And it's actually made me feel like, okay, like if I was in middle school, because I remember the first time I went off to college and I met a guy who liked wearing fishnet stockings, I thought was weird. This is a good introduction.
I think, I completely agree that because you've got to make something that could shock the public, scare the public, confuse the public, something that a lot of people won't necessarily understand, and that includes parents or the friends at school. You've got to make it palatable, so it's excusable that the film is this formulaic, because it's got to be. It's got to try harder than anything to be audience friendly, to do what it's trying to do.
Oh, definitely. Like, you have to pander at some point, because if you tried making it, like, in the United States, the closest thing we ever had to this was the Glee episode of Rocky Horror Picture Show. I'm serious.
I've not seen that.
And to be honest with you, I don't watch Glee, but I was forced to watch it, and the writing was shit. The characters made no sense based on the original, and didn't make anybody feel empowered. If anything, it just built up the trope. Because the whole point from people, like, I'm not really into Glee, so Glee fans, please apologize. I'm not from that generation. But from what I've seen of Glee, it's basically an excuse to have musical numbers. The plot doesn't make any bit of sense, and this one makes sense.
The writing of Glee was always problematic. I admit I did laugh, because I saw the Glee trailer where there's the line, "Did you know that dolphins are just gay sharks?" And I did laugh at that line, but it's also a very stupid line. Admittedly, it's said by, because presumably those characters are valley girls.
Right.
They're meant to be bimbos who don't understand.
Exactly.
But yeah, Glee reinforces the stereotypes that are basically Kinsey tests, that our sexuality and our sexual identity, our gender, are somehow the same thing. And there's but no, it's not like that. It's more complex.
Yeah, and still straight. Like if this was American film, he would be gay from the get-go. I'm not joking.
That's a very important thing. Dennis is a straight, cisgendered male.
Right. If this was American, he would have to come up to his parents that he was gay.
Yeah.
I'm not joking. Yeah. Halfway through the film, when his father finds out that he wore a dress, his father would say, "Are you gay?" And he would have to say, "Yes, I am." And then his father would have to deal with it.
Yeah.
In this, it's interesting because I guess the British population is perfectly fine with LGBT. They're just having an issue with people who wear women's clothing, which is interesting.
Well, I suppose it's kind of twofold, because we've talked about the uniform issue, because they're both rebels. They both fight or find a way around because he could have worn the female equivalent of a school uniform is the same thing, but a girl can wear a skirt.
Right.
Just wear a skirt that suits the school colours. He could have worn makeup. I don't think that would have broken the rules. He could have worn, I don't know about wigs. He could have worn earrings. Are tricky. You can't wear earrings.
Wear earrings.
No. The school policy that we have in the UK to do with earrings is if it's anything you can tear out in a fight.
Right.
Because if you're wearing hoops, I can rip the hoop out. That's going to hurt you. That will damage you. If you're wearing studs, that's not a weapon I can use. That's not the health and safety issue. That will be the actual rule there. So he could have just worn a female version.
Yeah, and also why did he wear something that was like pink? He could have worn like a full-on dress that was the same school colors, had the indent. I guess it was just the point of he wants to do something ridiculous.
I guess part of the film is about rebellion, and maybe part of it is because they do really enforce the idea of uniform and uniform inspection at the beginning. There's a lot to do with individuality, and you kind of know, look, one of the people behind Little Britain, these are people like me. These are people who like to play dress-ups. And I mean, I'm a cross-dresser and what have you. I've had female personas, and it's, of course, not the same as being a trans person. That's the confusion that arises.
I mean, I'm only human. I get things mixed up. I mean, reality is reality, you know what I mean? Like, there's still, recently, speaking of, they should probably do another year about asexuality and have an entire, a good film about asexuality and how people are forced to do sex. I don't know. If you want to go in the direction,
well, I mean, an asexual person being forced to have sex is called...
No. An asexual person coming out there asexual. It's like it would be equivalent of like a American film coming out to the parents that they were gay.
Okay, yeah.
And a good feel movie about explaining that, no, I don't really want to date boys or girls. I'm fine the way I am.
Well, you're definitely right, because the bigotry against asexuals is such a big thing that it exists in what I call the GSD community, gender, sexuality, diversity, which some people say LGBT and variants of. But yeah, there's sometimes A is in there, but A can also be ally. But in any case, just as there is gay and lesbian bigotry towards bisexual men and women, there is some, or people are either bigoted against asexuals or they don't count them as a minority because they don't think that asexuals go through anything. Whereas I guess, I mean, that society places a huge pressure on things like dating, on things like that. It's not easy to be asexual. So yeah.
Or having an asexual partner like I have, where it's just hard to deal with certain subjects where I'm really curious about what they think about it, and they don't think anything about it.
Oh, you have an asexual partner, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Mm-hmm. So you think that because I can't name a single asexual movie. So yeah, I agree.
They don't exist.
If your point is there should be something for asexuals, there should be a movie to champion asexuals, I completely agree. That's long overdue. Yeah.
Well, I mean, they tried making a trailer for it recently. This year they've tried in the United States. I'm some allies with some asexuals, and they have piloted a TV trailer show rather in the United States, and it has not gotten traction, but it's trying. So I found it online. It's really.
Can I say they have made it very clear it's not a movie, but it's a TV show.
Mm-hmm.
But in the TV show Sherlock, they have made it, he is clearly asexual. Yeah,
that's true. Yeah, and that's true. I mean, Sherlock's a good example, but and also there's Sheldon for The Big Bang Theory is another example if you want to go asexuals.
That's true, but they've kind of betrayed it because they have kissed. The trouble with asexual characters is that they're presented in a way where the audience are invited to think they're the ones who can turn them. And it's kind of true of Sherlock, but I don't think they'll turn, because he didn't even have sex with his girlfriend, did he?
Right.
When he briefly had a girlfriend.
No, he didn't. No.
Sheldon did kiss what's her name, and they're obvious. There's also the spanking scene. It looks like Sheldon is going to be magically, quote unquote, cured of his asexuality. To be honest.
Right. Yeah. But I mean, I applaud the BBC for doing this. This is really interesting. I never knew a lot of things about British society that I kind of took for granted in the United States. I mean, the whole suburbia attitude's very different. Like, the idea of... I mean, I assume it's more like YouTube shit and whatever, but I don't know. I just felt like there was a sense of, there's a bit of a sense of, the United States, too, but it's just different. It just felt like every person on the street isn't your friend. It's more like you have a rough group of friends that you hang out with. And the group of friends that you have aren't necessarily based on school. It's based on, rough interests that you have and, things that you care about kind of thing. This is interesting.
So are you saying that you felt from watching this film that British suburbia has more of a sense of community?
Rough sense of community. Keep in mind, America has a community too, it's just different. Our sense of community is either based on where you physically live or based on your online friends and online communities. In England, it seems like a combination of the two.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I mean, I would say as somebody who lives in the outskirts of London, it's suburbia, but it's not.
Yeah.
It's this was clearly very home counties.
Right.
Still the southeast of England, of course.
Right.
Where I would say from friends I've known, I've stayed over in Essex and things like that. It is a bit friendlier. It is a bit kind of people kind of know each other's names and what have you. I mean, London is terrible. If you live if you go to central London, the London Underground, you don't make eye contact with strangers, never mind talk. If you go north, if you go to Liverpool, they have an underground train system, much smaller. Again, this is another urban example, but it's a smaller city. Scousers, we call them, Liverpudlians or Scousers, they'll just randomly talk to each other.
Really? New Yorkers?
Oh, right. Oh, New Yorkers do that.
Yeah. New Yorkers
wow.
New Yorkers, no, it's worse than that in New York. Example. So you could be walking on the street, someone walks up to you, asks you about your political opinion about a rally that's going on and leaves. New Yorkers have the weirdest sense of timing, where it's like, You could be in the middle of a conversation with someone else, and then you ask a person you've never met before opinion, they'll butt in. Like, if you're having an argument with somebody, 4 other people will jump in and help you out.
Wow. I've never been to I imagined that New York would be much like London. That
No. San Francisco's like London. San Francisco is more like you're by yourself. If someone asks you a question, you give them directions as soon as you can. You don't help out unless you're at a specific rally where you seem safe because you're with someone else and they ask your opinion on what you think about this issue and then they leave.
Okay.
Yeah.
I've never had a stranger ask me my opinion on something unless they were actually doing like a survey.
In New York, they actually just want to talk to you and have a good chat and then leave.
But hang on though, because in America, you can bump into someone who's pro-gun, pro-life, How does this not end in fights?
In New York, that's a good question. In New York, you have different sections for different people's interests. If you want to talk about politics, you go to Soho. If you want to talk about, pro-gun or whatever, you go to a different area. Like in the Mid-South, you go to Austin. It's based on interests. Like, well, Austin's more liberal, but you know what I mean. Like, you would probably go down to Austin. Austin's liberal. Houston's conservative. So each city has a microcosm. Like, even if someone's pro-life or whatever in New York, you just go to a pro-life area.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Like, it's kind of like the social groups are based around certain spots, if that makes sense, with New York.
I can honestly say that, it doesn't really... Well, you could say it works that way here in terms of seeing the posters, if the Labour posters, the Labour are red, Tories are blue, Lib Dems are yellow. You can kind of identify things like that, if that really means anything. Mind you, you're not going to meet people who are... There aren't many people who are fiercely pro-gun ownership. There aren't really people who are fiercely pro-life. We definitely have misogynists and queerphobics, hence...
Of course, everybody has.
And xenophobes, hence, of course, fucking UKIP get votes. Astonishingly.
Heck, we had the original. We had the Tea Party.
You still got the Tea Party.
Oh, still around. Now,
I think it is. The UKIP and the Tea Party are so fucking comparable because these people are so obviously fucking morons. How can you not spot that Sarah Palin and Michelle Bachmann are fucking idiots? How can you not see that?
I have a theory, but I don't think that's ready for the podcast yet.
Okay.
Well, I can throw out my theory anyway. No one cares anyway.
Okay.
So my theory is they're actually controlled by specific brands that want a specific point of view to be heard in specific countries. Specific brands like in the United States we have Fox. They're pretty well renowned throughout the planet.
Yeah.
Other brands that want to have their versions of Christianity on specific countries, want to have specific organizations that they look as grassroots, which it really isn't. It's a little bit of corporate money in there. I'm just saying. It's not complete. It's not complete idiocy. It's partially. But
there are still people stupid enough.
Yes, there are.
Hear the voters who hear the nonsense spouted by these people. When it comes to polling day, they will actually vote for these nut jobs.
Of course, because there's always going to be people like that, no matter where you go. It's just they love pulling them in and saying, hey, your guy isn't conservative enough. Come to us.
Yeah. Anyway, I think we're ready for high point, low point.
Okay.
I'd say my high point, and I feel guilty saying this because it's so
go
cliched.
ahead.
My high point is the bit where they all come out wearing dresses, and everybody loves Queen. I want to break free. There is no such thing as a person who doesn't like Queen. And the triumph of as much as it's every heartwarming underdog sports movie you've ever seen. I still, it's audience friendly, it's heartwarming. I smile at that bit. I do love the bit where they all come out. Yeah, they're all wearing dresses. You can't expel all of us. And actually, Percy from Blackadder, superb. I think everybody was superb in this film, actually. Oh, yeah. What would my low point be? Possibly the fact that when it turns out, spoilers, that the headmaster or principal, as you said, we say headmaster, is a transvestite himself, they blackmail him. I've got to say, you can't ever blackmail anybody over their sexual identity, ever, even if they're a bad guy, even if you don't like them, even if you have a good reason. I know it's a kid's story, and that this is past the feel-good climax. Technically, they do blackmail somebody. So, if this were real life, I'd be like, no, you do not do that. That would be my low point. So, Ben, your high point, low point.
I'm kind of weird with high points and low points in this one. I kind of find the whole, his dad is so fucking upset with him, and the whole, fuck this, I'm actually going to wear it at school, which was like the build-up for me. I kind of wanted, because I almost expected that scene where, he gets laughed at and his wig falls off, and I don't know, I just kind of liked that whole, going into the French teacher and just politely saying in a very French accent, I cannot understand the word you are saying.
I thought that was a bit cruel, the treatment of the French. Oh, okay. Because I've had some.
Because he's doing an alternate persona. He's getting away with practical murder from his point of view. He's saying shit he can never say before. That's where it's from.
I would expect to like it, except that even though I've had really horrible language teachers, I felt sorry for her because she cried.
But I didn't feel sorry for her.
Okay.
I generally thought she was a bad teacher. And he's doing things he could never do in his normal state. That was the whole point.
Yeah.
I'm not... Maybe he could have acted differently, but I still think the idea of an alternate persona is definitely... When they finally release what he can do, and all these girls giving him high fives, and he's getting all this attention, and... I don't know, it just felt good. You know what I mean? Yeah, my low point, I guess, I agree with you with the whole, blackmail a teacher thing, but I think the weirdest of weird at the end, where even though he's been blackmailed, the headmaster, as you said, was riding around on his bicycle for everyone to see, and it was like noon, or it was like late at night. I was like, what? Why? Okay.
I guess you're meant to get in because you're already accepting, because twice in the film Dennis isn't recognised as Dennis because he's a girl, and you're meant to believe that people wouldn't recognise the headmaster in drag, which obviously in real life you would. So I think that's a suspension of disbelief.
I know, it just felt weird. They could have done it where the guy was maybe had a little bit of the wig on plus his normal uniform, or had some lipstick on, and kind of half and half. That way it would be more pronounced, I guess. I don't know. It just felt weird. I don't know. You're right with the blackmail thing. I just didn't like it. I wish they just... I have to say, another plot-wise, it makes sense, but I think instead, if I were to do an edit, if I add my editing tools and re-edited the film, instead I maybe would have had a situation where it's like, hey, we know who you are, why don't we both wear dresses together, and let's see who knows who's who. Or something like, Do you want to see my father? You guys can talk about this in full drag.
Yeah.
That would have been more interesting, where the head professor wouldn't have to explain in full drag to his dad about how come he can't go to school anymore. Would have cost a scene, but it would have been interesting.
That could have been an interesting take to have on it, yeah.
Because that way it would have been like a double shock of, like, everyone would know after that point.
Did you think it was maybe a bit crammed? I mean, I've not read the original book, but do you think, I don't know how much it was changed, because adaptations can sometimes they change a lot, sometimes not, but it was all done. I mean, it is a movie, but it is done in 60 minutes. Did you think maybe they didn't have enough time, or did you think
it needed a little bit more running? I would say maybe if you made it a minute 30, you could probably play it out a little bit. I think they're just issues of time constraints, and the BBC basically said, "Hey, we got to make it a minute, man."
Like, an hour?
Yeah.
I can sort of imagine it being an hour and a quarter, maybe.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think maybe it was a mistake to try and get it all into an hour. Though in a way, because I don't normally watch that kind of as we've established. I mean, well, you liked the way that it was formulaic.
I did. Yeah.
I like it too. In a way, I'm aware of just how formulaic this is, but the fact that it's done in an hour makes it better for me than if I watch a movie like Wimbledon.
Right.
Like, that's 2 hours, and and the fact it is formulaic, because there's that joke. Do you know Mitchell and Webb?
Yeah.
They've got that. They've got a sketch that's. They're writing a script, and then it's the paperclip comes up. It looks like you're trying to write a feel-good.
Yes.
A feel-good, heartwarming underdog story. Would you like some help? And then they put. Bearing in mind, this is back when Wimbledon came out. It's like, there already is a heartwarming underdog story about tennis players. Would you like to replace it? So yeah, you do kind of get that feeling with it. And actually, I think the fact that it is kept down to an hour, although that might actually, if anything, accentuate how formulaic it is, it also makes it okay, because I think very, very trope-filled formulaic films, when they run to an hour and a half or 2 hours, that's when they grate. Mm-hmm. So maybe they were right to keep it at an hour. Obviously, yeah.
Okay, fine. If you want to keep it an hour, I would say, do you want to talk to my dad? And he's like, no. And then he would just give them a slip. Sound fair enough?
Okay. So, yeah. So there you are, folks. A Christmas Day special for people who can access BBC iPlayer. It'll be available, well, I'll say 27, because it still has to go up. So 27 more days, and it may not resurface again. So it is worth a watch. It is worth an hour of your time. It's definitely worth discussing the issues raised in this. I will say I am a cross-dresser. I cross-dressed as a teenager. I wish this had existed when I was a teenager. And I think it's time for final thoughts and goodbye, Ben.
Final thought. Good film. If it still exists in 5 years from now, I plan to show it to my kids.
Hurrah! You'll definitely have kids in 5 years.
No.
Oh, okay. I was going to say I'm going to hold you to that. But yeah. Sorry, your sign off.
Oh, and my sign off is if it's still around, watch it while it's around.
I completely agree. I salute that. Please, people, watch this. It's a bit unusual. You won't have seen it before. And hey, if you're an Anglophile, everybody's in this film. Yep. Jay from The Inbetweeners, Jennifer Saunders, Percy from Blackadder. You can always play Spot the Actor with a British flick. And so, yeah, this deserves a wide audience. And thank you very much, Ben, for being my guest. And we'll be speaking to you soon. Good night.
Good night, everybody.